Most people who say they don't have enemies, they probably don't want to tell others they have the enemy, or they don't want to disclose it. I don't know a single person that doesn't have an enemy. Everybody does.
One of the basic drives, let's say, of anybody who's reasonably socialized is to do something that is useful and that other people regard as useful. And then the next offer is, you'll do that in a way that will increase the probability that you'll establish something permanent. And you'll do it in a way that'll be a benefit to everyone else.
The more I listen to this, the better my life gets. If they don't have what you want, don't listen to what they say. There's no greater waste of time than justifying your actions to people who have a life you don't want.
Whatever that thing is that you actually enjoy doing, where you lose track of time when you're in it, even if it's challenging, but usually it is challenging, right? Like, it's not easy because then it's boring. The people who are, quote, addicted to work make it easy to be addicted to work because they do things worth doing. And I think a lot of it is coming down to making sure that you take the few precious seconds that we have to do the few things that are worth doing for the rest of your life.
Can you love somebody? Define love for me. He says, love is a feeling. It's emotion. It's this. So great. I said, say you're in jail. Your wife is somewhere else. How does she know you love her? How do you show her love? Is love a verb? Is love a feeling? Is love a noun? We're having this conversation, right? And then you realize the risk of loving is worth it. I can't imagine living life without having that love. It introduces you to a person you've not met before. Man, a great enemy does that as well. A formidable enemy is going to introduce you to a person you've not seen before. By the way, could be ugly, could be scary, could be, oh my God, who is this person? Why are you acting like this? Why are you thinking like this?
Happy people tend to be more impulsive, for example. You can make a lot of mistakes if you're, I can give you a clinical example. So one of the most severe forms of mental disorder is mania. And mania is excess of positive emotion. And if you're in a manic state, it's like, yee-haw, that's pretty fun. In fact, often people who are manic won't take their medication because it's quite a trip. But it's a complete catastrophe. Like, manic people will spend every cent they have. They're thinking up all sorts of wild ideas, and it's very exciting. Positive emotion can really go off the rails, and it does make people impulsive.
So your brain needs pressure. It needs constant pressure. And stress and pressure is not a bad thing. We have this thing where we feel like stress is bad. You need to relax, man. You need to chill. Stress will kill you. No, being bored will kill you. Not having anything to do will kill you is much more dangerous than stress.
If I have sadness, great, what do I not know? Okay, now I have to go figure that out. Great, I have something to do. I think these are like mental models around using emotions to fuel the behaviors that you want.
Probably don't want to judge the quality of your life exactly based on your emotional state, happiness or lack thereof. That's a contributing factor, but it's probably better to think about your happiness as a side effect of your proper pursuits. So say you're pursuing something that's meaningful and engaging and productive. The spin-off of that is going to be as much happiness as you're capable of. But a lot of what's going to determine your happiness is your temperament. So extroverted people have a lot of positive emotion, and neurotic people have a lot of negative emotion. And so if you're very introverted and very high neuroticism, there's not going to be a lot of happiness.
When your entire life is only predicated on the health and well-being of a small group of people you love more than breathing, nothing scares you.
He calls me and says, I'm running for president. Now listen, if you don't want to do this, I completely understand. But I would be honored if you would speak at the National Republican Convention for me. Everybody told me not to do it, everybody. And I'm like, this guy, all the things that he's done for me, I'm gonna tell him no, that's not me. I went up and I told people the truth, who he is, what he's done for me, the type of person he's been.
What my mother said to me was, Denzel, you do a lot of good, but you must do good the right way. She said, and you know what I'm talking about. Can't buy your way in, can't love your way in. You gotta serve, you gotta do good the right way. So at 66, getting ready to be 67, having just buried my mother, I made a promise to her and to God to do, not just to do good the right way, but to honor my mother and my father by the way I live my life the rest of my days on this earth.
Most things are actually significantly easier than people think they are. They just don't know how to try hard, because the harder that you try, the easier it gets. And so it's like, if you can just learn to love what trying hard feels like, then all of a sudden it becomes unreasonable that you can't win.
To be motivated, two things have to happen. Something has to be chasing you, and you have to be chasing something. And you can get somewhere just by ambition, and you can get somewhere just by having fear push you, but you can really get somewhere if you're chasing something and you have fear pushing you.
Self-love is holding yourself to a higher standard than anyone else does. That's really interesting to me.
I think it's believing in the 85-year-old version of you who's exactly who you want to be, and then ruthlessly looking at the discrepancy between the pittance of a human that you are now compared to that man or that woman, and then step by step breaking down the many differences and starting on the first one and pulling the thread.
It is the easiest time ever in the history of mankind to be a millionaire. Ever. It's the easiest time ever to be a millionaire. It's never been easier than today. Ever. It's a joke today to be a millionaire. It's a joke today to be a millionaire.
If you make a plan for the next 5 years, that plan is going to change as you move ahead. And so then you might say, well, why bother making a plan? And well, part of the reason is because you motivate yourself with a goal and you constrain your anxiety. Like a plan does both of those, if it's a good plan. And then it also enables you to learn along the way. And so you don't want to be so perfectionistic that you criticize your plan to death. You want to have kind of a loose guideline for how you're going to move forward and allow yourself to course correct along the way.
You're not really that important. The internet's not going away. Nobody's waiting for your content. They may enjoy it. They may get a lot out of it. It might be very meaningful to them. It might have changed their life. But ultimately, that narrative, that story that you're telling yourself is really just a convenient excuse for avoiding a level of self-honesty and self-connection that will ultimately create a stronger, better version of that person you're deluding yourself you already are.
Everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. And so when you have that point of view, then literally the world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
You can get locked into place by failure of imagination. You don't have a vision for yourself. You can get locked into place because you don't think that there's any actions that you can take that will change things. So you have no belief in yourself as an active agent. You can get locked into place, this is a similar thing, because you believe that you're a victim of circumstances. You can get locked into place because at any moment it's easier to do nothing than to do something, right? So just inertia will keep you in place. You can get locked into place because you're surrounded by people who aren't supporting you when you move forward, because they punish you if you're good because it makes them look bad. And that's envy and jealousy, and that can be a very powerful constraining force for people.
I had spent 18 years or so acquiring high levels of skill in writing. I learned in journalism how to write under a deadline, under pressure, how to make it dramatic, how to make the opening sentence exciting enough to make you read on further. Trying to write novels taught me about creating stories, which is a huge part of my writing. Working in Hollywood, I learned how to research, which is a huge element, and then the theatrical element, making things dramatic, also story. All of that time, brick by brick, I had developed real level skill. So when it came time to write the 48 Laws of Power, I could do it. I had learned all this discipline. I had learned how to write under a deadline. I learned how to make things entertaining, the whole bag, okay? And so the world opened up for me